And I've said to him, I said, look, there's a difference between talent and great. Those are two different things. It's not enough just to be talented. You can be talented without any responsibility. You can't be great without any responsibility.
The reality is this: 99% of NBA players teams would have moved on from over this last 6 years. Because Zion Williamson is so immensely talented, the Pelicans stick with him as their hopeful franchise player. If he wanted to work in New Orleans, it's got to be now.
It's September 23rd, 2025. The New Orleans Pelicans are holding their media day. Everything looks routine until Zion Williamson steps onto the stage and shocks the entire NBA. For years, we've heard the same story. Every offseason, Zion shows up slimmer, fans get hopeful, and then the cycle repeats with injuries or weight creeping back. Honestly, it started to feel like the NBA's version of the Ben Simmons jump shot videos. But this time, something is different. Zion doesn't just look lighter, he looks transformed. We're talking about a body change as dramatic as when LeBron James slimmed down before his second Cleveland stint, or when Charles Barkley leaned out and became league MVP. This isn't Zion in shape. This is Zion looking like he stepped straight out of a Captain America chamber. But here's the big question. Is this actually a good thing? Losing weight can give Zion more speed, explosiveness, and stamina, things he already had in scary amounts. Imagine him slashing to the rim at 265. Now picture it at 255 or even less. Defenders might not stand a chance. On the other hand, some fans worry that too much weight loss could affect his strength and durability. After all, Zion's dominance has always come from being a bulldozer with hops. This transformation raises real stakes for the Western Conference. If Zion maintains this, the Pelicans instantly become one of the most dangerous teams in the league. Think about it. A healthy, locked-in Zion alongside Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and a deep young core. Suddenly, New Orleans doesn't just look like a playoff team, they look like a contender. Of course, the skepticism remains. Some fans believe this is just another cycle, and until Zion proves he can sustain it for 75 to 80 games, they won't buy in. But if he finally puts it all together, health, discipline, and focus, the league better prepare. Because a lighter, stronger, and more explosive Zion Williamson isn't just good news for the Pelicans. It could reshape the entire balance of power in the West.
Joe Dumars has made it clear, publicly and privately, that he's going to be holding Zion Williamson accountable this season. If he can clean that stuff up, clean up the leadership side, if he can stay healthy, Zion Williamson has all those qualities to be a real game changer for this team. If he's healthy and on the court, they have playoff expectations.
According to ESPN's Michael C. Wright, Zion Williamson weighed in at 264 pounds just 2 days before Media Day. For perspective, when the Pelicans drafted him in 2019, he was listed at 284. Over the years, reports claimed his weight even spiked to around 330. That means we could be looking at a jaw-dropping 66-pound transformation. Now, fans might roll their eyes, because we've seen this story before. Back in 2021, Zion showed up to camp looking slimmer. The famous Batman mask photo went viral, and Pelicans exec David Griffin called him the best shape of his life. But reality hit hard. Zion didn't play a single game that season due to a foot injury. Then came 2022, another media day, another round of Zion's in shape talk, this time with head coach Willie Green praising his conditioning. History has repeated itself, but this time, it might actually be different. Do you want me to continue?
The beauty in it is good to see him on the floor, and I think he's feeling more normal, the fact that he gets to play basketball, and that's what he wants to do, that's what he loves to do. We just want him to get as healthy as he can and continue to progress in that way.
The result? Just 29 games. That's all Zion managed, less than half a season. Fast forward to 2023, and once again the story is the same. Zion's in shape, ready to dominate. And for a while, it looked real. He suited up for 70 games, which by his standards is basically an Iron Man season. But then came the playoffs. A hamstring injury in the play-in knocked him out, and the Pelicans got swept while Zion sat on the bench. 2024? Same cycle. He arrives looking solid, though not like this year, and the hype builds again. But by March, a back injury ends his season at just 30 games. That's why Pelicans fans don't buy these Zion transformation stories anymore. It feels like a toxic relationship. Every offseason comes with promises of change, and every time ends in disappointment. But 2025 feels different, and I mean really different. Look at the side-by-side photos from 2024 versus 2025 Media Day. It's not even the same guy. Last year, Zion still carried that thick, tank-like frame. This year, his face is sharper, his arms leaner, his entire posture different. He looks like he could run a marathon. What changed? Timing. After last March's back injury, Zion had 6 full months to rebuild his body with no game pressure, no back-to-backs, just pure focus. And behind the scenes, new GM Joe Dumars is reportedly pushing Zion harder than ever. Some of Dumars' moves, like trading an unprotected first just to move up for Raw prospect Derek Queen, raised eyebrows. But one thing is clear, Dumars is putting pressure on Zion to change. And for once, it looks like it's working.
You can be talented without any responsibility. You can't be great without any responsibility. You just can't. That's not what greatness is. And so let's just make sure that we are responsible and accountable. Zion has been great. I've not had any issues with him. He's been working, really pushing himself hard. So I've been happy with him this summer. But still, at the end of the day, man, you got to be responsible and accountable for everything you do.
Even Zion himself is saying that he feels like he's in college again.
We came up with a plan, and from boxing to working out on the football field a lot to just different random workouts. And during that time frame last year, I really felt a shift in my body to where I would look at him and go, dude, it feels good to feel good. I haven't felt like this since college, high school, just where I can walk in the gym and I'm like, I feel good.
If you go back to Zion's Duke days and compare them to his first NBA season, it feels like 2 completely different players. Multiple reports now confirm that Zion has overhauled his lifestyle from top to bottom. He's hired a personal chef, brought in sports scientists, leaned into cutting-edge recovery methods. This wasn't a quick fix or a crash diet. This was a complete scientific approach to rebuilding his body. Dr. Marcus Elliott, a sports scientist with years of NBA experience, even said that for elite athletes like Zion, the key isn't just shedding weight, it's optimizing body composition. And that's exactly what we're seeing. But here's the real question. Did Zion lose too much weight? What made him terrifying at Duke wasn't just his bounce. Lots of guys can jump. It was that mix of freakish athleticism and raw power. At 285 pounds, Zion was a cheat code. Defenders bounced off him, fouled him, or simply got out of the way. At 264, we're seeing a different player. Can he still overpower Embiid, Jokic, or Giannis? Can he absorb the same punishment? And there's another risk. When athletes drop significant weight, their biomechanics shift. That transition alone can spark injuries. Even ESPN's Brian Windhorst said it best. 99% of teams would have moved on from a player with Zion's history.
The reality is this, 99% of NBA players teams would have moved on from over this last 6 years. Because Zion Williamson is so immensely talented, the Pelicans stick with him as their hopeful franchise player. If he wanted to work in New Orleans, it's got to be now. He's got almost $90 million over the next 2 seasons that are non-guaranteed. The Pelicans could cut him. In the apron era, that's something that they could do. And he would get another job, but he wouldn't make $90 million and he wouldn't be the franchise player. He's got a lot to play for this year.
Zion Williamson has now played 214 games out of a possible 471 in his career. That's less than half. And the craziest part? He's never played in a real playoff game. Twice the Pelicans made the postseason with him on the roster, and twice he was in street clothes. That's why this new transformation feels different, almost like Zion's last stand in New Orleans. And maybe that's exactly the motivation he needed. The Pelicans have gone all in. They signed him to a massive extension, 5 years, worth up to $231 million with incentives. They traded for jaan'ne Murray before his injury. They added Jordan Poole for scoring. They even gave up a future unprotected first-rounder in a questionable draft day move. This franchise is betting everything on Zion, and if they miss the playoffs this year, they're in serious trouble, especially in a West that's getting scarier by the day. Wemby and the Spurs rising, OKC looking like a dynasty, Denver reloading, the Rockets adding Kevin Durant. The margin for error is gone. That's why this transformation matters. Reports say Zion didn't just lose weight. He worked with chefs, sports scientists, and even sports psychologists. This was a full rebuild, physically and mentally. At 264 pounds, he's basically the same weight as LeBron, but 2 inches shorter. That changes his archetype completely. The optimistic view? He becomes more versatile, switchable on defense, explosive in transition, able to play longer minutes without wearing down. Offensively, he's quicker, more agile, maybe even more dangerous with a refined jumper. Imagine Zion 3.0, a hybrid who can punish inside, step out to the perimeter, and guard multiple positions. The pessimistic view? He's lost what made him unstoppable, his sheer bulk and power. Without that intimidation factor, does he just become another athletic forward in a league full of them? That's the risk. But here's the truth. This is the first time Zion has truly taken control of the one thing he can control, his body. He looks leaner than he's been since before Duke, yet he now has 6 years of NBA experience. If he stays healthy, this could be the most terrifying version of Zion we've ever seen. So now the question is yours. Do you believe this transformation is finally real?